last 30 minutes is a review. So this is all within 20 hours already. And the very first one I saw was this. I'm not going to read the title, but the YAP gang that put this out, they are actually Hebrew Israelites. They just focus a lot on genetics, and they seem to have a certain perspective, which is kind of obvious by the title they chose. But I'm just giving kind of going around a horn on the internet as it is. Now let's bring a couple people in here. I'm actually going to bring people in more than one. I haven't really done that a lot lately. Okay. Thanks for being patient there, Orthodox. Or bring you on. Switch you over to 3. Bring you on. Let's see. You should be on. Let me just make sure I got your volume, brother. Okay, got your volume. Now all I see is a screen, but that's all right. I'll forgive you. Go ahead, bro. What you got?
First and foremost, peace and blessings to D-New. Second of all, bro, like I gotta give you props on this, because like as somebody who's moderated a multitude of debates, I will never go on someone else's channel and moderate a debate where I don't get sticks to control stuff, bro. And literally, like, so this is your first debate that you moderated?
No, I've moderated debates before, but I've never had to do one in that exact kind of situation. Actually,
yeah, that
funny.
Was hostile.
I even debated or moderated one that was. I remember one I moderated was live. It was J.D. Hall and Joe McDermott on theonomy, okay. And that's when I had the Italia fro. But that was in person. Anyways, I've done a couple, but I agree,
that's
bro.
A long time ago, though. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. That's like pre-stream, That's like there's no 4,000 live streamers and live viewers. Like that was, that was a lot to handle right there. You know what I'm saying? I got to give you props on that.
Nah, bro,
when you go back and rewatch the debate, fam, like I say this with all candor, your boy Ricard himself, right? Like, so this is to me. I'm gonna say this as somebody who's into the scholastic arguments. I personally believe that Alizar did worse than Ricard did against James White, given the fact that if you account for the time to improve on the level of information and whatnot, right? In terms of like that was a long time ago. Ricard, you know what I'm saying? Like it was his first time interacting with somebody like a James White. Like it was the first time we see like an Israelite Christian interaction at that level. Okay, we see what that was. All these years later, we're talking like Shikari's supposed to be like at the top of the heap scholastically when it comes to the BHI and whatnot, right? And so this is the best they can do. Just understand my man's whole argument was special pleading and whatnot. The entire argument and presentation. I was dying because like I kept saying on other channels that Alizar was definitely making me believe in resurrection, because he kept dying and coming back. You know what I'm saying?
Bro, come on, bro. No, you know what's funny? I'm listening, and as you can tell, I missed some of the debate because of the moderation element. Like I got to go back and watch it again. But actually, so I actually disagree with you to a certain extent. I thought,
because you're listening, it sounded good. If you go watch it, it's different. It's like Alizar sounded fantastic, but when you go back and compare it point for point, bro, it was horrible.
Okay, so that's the distinction I would actually make, is what you just said there. So we're maybe a little closer. I don't know. Presentation level, if you talk about who won or lost the debate, on the presentation level, it was way too close for comfort, in my opinion.
Agreed.
Way too close on a presentation level between audio, the visual. We talk about voice pace. You talk about rhythm. You talk about timing. You talk about finishing, completing sentences, speed, enunciation, pitch, control, power. Now I'm talking strictly on that, right? Even the visual element of the way the PowerPoint looked. You know, now if you're talking strictly facts, information, there's very few places I could say I could hand it over to anyone other than Brown on that point. So I don't think that element was really close at all. But the thing is, I'm thinking about the audience. And when I think about this large audience, I mean, 4,000 people, so it's not just one audience, right? But when I'm thinking about it, as a Christian apologist, I'm there to be fair and all that. But as a moderator, I'm there to be fair. But as a Christian apologist, I'm like, this is way too close for comfort as far as a presentation level. So that's why I said earlier, if I was a Hebrew Israelite, of most types and stripes, especially if a one must ID, I feel like I'd be somewhat elated right now. You know what I mean? But I feel you. Go ahead, man.
I can agree with that, because like, so Alizar gave a better presentation than what Ricard gave, right? Like he definitely redeemed the Israelites on that level, right? 100%. But the way I keep describing is this: like he was out there doing street ball, he was out there breaking ankles, doing sick moves and whatnot. But when it was time to hit the layup or hit the shot, he missed the layup and missed the shot. You can see that going down the stretch with the Q&A when under the pushback from Brown and whatnot. Like, your man was literally like sitting on his hands, not throwing punches. Like, no, I don't want to answer that. No, I don't want to answer. And at the same point in time, again, like, and I agree with you on the presentation. I wish Brown could have put the DNA actually in his presentation, but he actually called him out on the right stuff. And this is what I'm saying. Al-Azhar literally, he was special pleading in the coldest way. So first of all, did you see were you able to see the list where he had literally bad knees as one of the things that as one of the symptoms of the curses and whatnot?
Okay, yes, I did, and
Well,
I tuned into your part of the review you were involved with, and actually,
right.
out of all the parts, some of the parts I caught, I specifically caught the bad knees part. Do you remember what one of the panelists said? They made a pretty funny quip in regards to the bad knees. I don't know if you remember it.
Oh, which one in particular? Because we was on that for hours, my G.
One of the guys. So I'm repeating other people's stuff. Somebody said something like, "Well, that's Al-Azhar having bad knees from swooning from a KO from Mike Brown or something like that."
Yeah, that might have came out somewhere.
Do you know what I'm talking about? Something like that.
That might have came out from somebody.
I don't know. I mean,
but yeah, he Al-Azhar KO'd himself, right? Like, so this was like, so Yap Gang, like I was on Yap Gang's channel reviewing the debate and whatnot. And Yap Gang focuses on DNA more than anything, right? DNA and material culture, right? And so Al-Azhar brings up the argument and says that, okay, he excludes the Ashkenazis and says that they can't be the Israelites because they should only have one haplogroup, and then breaks down the fact that they got different haplogroups, etc., and therefore they can't be them. Okay, if you apply that to yourself in a non-special pleading format, you just provide, like, so the group that you're representing, right? You're saying blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. That's a bigger pool of haplogroups than what Ashkenazis have, right? So you're dead in the water. Not only that, you've already shown your DNA and you're R1. The majority of people you're talking to are not R1 that you're saying are Israelites. So like when you're saying like, oh, if you're this haplogroup, 92% can't be Jews amongst the Israelites. If you're this haplogroup, 80 some odd percent can't be Jews. If you apply that to Black, Spanish, Native Americans, how many people are R1, Al-Azhar? How many people you're talking? Is your brother R1, my G?
Yeah, you're talking about you. Some people may not know what you're talking about there with the R. But I mean, you guys know what you're talking about. So yeah, look, Yap Gang does focus a lot, everybody, on DNA elements, and so they have a more nuanced, sophisticated, complex, informed understanding on the DNA issues than most people involved, especially on a non-professional level. But what's interesting about these discussions we're having, a lot of professionals aren't, in my understanding, even directly involved with what we're talking about. Now, there's ancillary studies we can make use of in these discussions. But if you talk about like some of the specifics, you got to aggregate sources, and Yap Gang does a pretty good job at that. I know not everyone at Yap Gang likes me, and that's okay. I like watching their stuff when I can, and it's only somewhat recent I've been informed, and then I got a couple questions from some of the guys, whatever, and then Abu tells me what's going on over there, and I do appreciate it. And I think the other guy up here might be from Yap Gang, so let me bring him on and see if he is, because we might, but I'm not sure. I can't tell just by the thing. Let me see, is this one of the other gentlemen from Yap Gang here? I got you turned up.
On Orthodox Mar got grace.
Hebrew of Israel, can you let me make sure you get in here. But what else you got?
That's Hebrew. That's definitely Hebrew. I got one last point I want to make. Go
ahead. I just brought him in, but go ahead.
Yeah, I got one last point I want to make on the material culture, right? Like, so with the way Al-Azhar was presenting his information and what he was denying in terms of what he was receiving, like he wasn't going to take language, he wasn't going to take DNA, etc. Wasn't going to accept all kind of stuff. What he left on the table was material culture, and Brown asked for that. Show me the material culture that you were able to preserve, right? And he said, I wasn't able to preserve nothing, right? But then he went back and said, okay, but I'm connecting you to Edomites who got the right DNA, the Hebrew DNA. I'm connecting you to them converting to Judaism, and I'm connecting you to their Semitic language and whatnot, right? At that juncture, you just said you got a whole bunch of material culture I don't have, and via the text, if you can't prove who's who with DNA or whatnot, now you're just talking about who got the religion, who has the state religion, etc. Right? Who's practicing the Israelite tradition with, right? So it becomes a material argument, material culture argument and whatnot. And he gave it to Brown. He said, "You have it, and I don't," because Brown, as a convert, is the only Israelite in the conversation at that juncture.
You said Brown as a convert is the only Israelite in the conversation?
If he's calling him a convert, he has to accept the fact that he would be the only one that's actually an Israelite via text at that juncture. A national, you know what I'm saying?
Gotcha. All right, appreciate that. I have Hebrew of Israel, but it says he's still in the green room. I don't know how to fix that, but I can hold you on if you want, Orthodox more. I'm trying to get Hebrew of Israel. But Adam Coleman, man, thanks for joining, bro. I hit you up before and told you we were doing this. I know you're busy, but what's going on, man? You were able to catch it?
Yeah, man. So there were some parts that I missed because I was like scrambling with my 5 kids and whatnot who were invading my office.
Hold on. Wait, let me fix that. You mean 5 kids and counting, right?
Oh, no.
I always tease Adam. Whenever I mail him something, I put Adam Coleman, 5 kids and counting.
Right, stupid, man. No, we ain't counting nothing, brother. We done. You know what I mean? But nah, man. So I just hop on here for a couple minutes, man. But I was able to catch a good portion of it. I'm about to go back and check out the rest. But from what I saw, man, I definitely agree with pretty much everybody's assessment, especially the last brother. And forgive me, brother, I can't remember what your screen name was. But I like the analogy.
Orthodox Moore. That was Orthodox Moore. He's a real well-rounded, balanced guy. Yeah, Orthodox Moore.
Cool. Yeah, shout out to him. Yeah, I really like the analogy of being like a street baller of Al-Azhar being like that street baller, breaking some ankles, but then like blowing the layup or missing the J. You know what I mean? And I think that's pretty accurate or fitting, I guess I could say. Given that. Props to Al-Azhar. I think he presented well. Definitely was poised. Composure was on point. So I try to give credit where credit is due.
Yeah, I agree with everything you said there, by the way. And even with etiquette, there's a couple minor breaches, but someone could make the argument that Dr. Brown made a couple minor breaches as well. So I feel like, in my view, it was relatively even killed there. And look, audience, no matter what you think about this, we should at least see the monumentous occasion of 2 people of significance on these issues able to have a pretty respectful, even debate. So I was just glad to be a part of it. But go ahead, man. I'm not trying to take the thunder, but I'm just second.
Again, props to both sides on that. You know what I mean? And that's one thing I think a lot of people, from an apologist standpoint, like, we don't have to, be disrespectful or just be nothing but negative about the other side. Like, you can give credit where credit is due. If somebody's being respectful and cordial and interacting, okay, cool. That's a good thing. We can acknowledge that. And I think that, Al-Azhar was able to do that.
Yep.
You can see that he put some work in to present his side. Mm-hmm. So that's
one of my favorite parts, by the way, was where he quoted Dr. Brown's commentary, because I was like, "Hey, I got that on the shelf." Okay, Al-Azhar. I was glad. That's one of my favorite parts when I almost wanted to interrupt and say, Dr. Brown gave me that commentary when I first met him as a complimentary gift for an event I threw that he was part of before we really knew each other. Fine. Yeah, out here. But I was like, I can't say nothing. I can't name drop. I can't
stay in that mode. Right.
Yeah, go ahead.
Mode, props for things like that. But then at the same time, I think it's just like battle rap. You know what I mean? There's levels. You know what I mean? Yeah. You might have a guy who's got really good stage presence, but after a while, the pen game is going to show up. You're going to know who has the nicer pen. You know what I mean? And so I think it's kind of like that with Dr. Brown. Like, he definitely was able to show some ring generalship, particularly when it comes to, debate etiquette, when I think it was K-Dub brought it up. Like, you can't add in new information, you know what I'm saying, like in your closing and things like that. You can do that when you're on 125th, debating against Brother Polite. You know what I mean? But when you're talking about a formal debate, there's a reason why it's organized a certain way. And it's just, I think Al-Azhar wasn't aware of those things. But
let me say, Al-Azhar was truthful, just so everyone knows. Al-Azhar was not sent anything as far as rules saying you cannot bring up new information at closing statements. That is true. That's correct. So I second that.
So if you're not accustomed to it, you don't know.
I did say in the debate, but when I announced that they were going to do their closing statements or some other part, I thought it was right there during that part. But I know I said it during the debate because I made a point to say it. You're not supposed to bring up new information in the closing statement. It may have been when I was running down the format in the beginning, or it may have been right before. One of those two spots, I know that I said it. Now, may not have heard. And also, people do breach the etiquette sometimes, right? We do know that as well. But again, that's a minor thing. There's a couple things, if I was having a good, nice private conversation with Dr. Brown, I might say, hey, here's something I would do different next time, or they may use this against you. So I could kind of see that going both ways. But
I think, and to your point, I mean, those things aren't necessarily deal breakers. I mean, I think that they show differences in terms of people who are accustomed to being in that ring and those who aren't, and that's fair. I think from a substance standpoint, I mean, obviously, if you're just going content for content, which I think ultimately is the best test of who wins a debate. I mean, it's like, the content being presented. Then I think that Dr. Brown really outclassed, Guerrilla Hebrew on that level, from, the parts that I've seen, to also, definitely during the Q&A as well. To me, it was a pretty, like, when he started getting into the Hebrew about, the thing about readiness and being applied to Solomon and David and so forth. And then, went to the text, you know what I mean? And then Guerrilla Hebrew was like, well, I disagree. It's like, what do you mean you disagree? Like, what does the text say though? Like, what do you mean that you disagree? Like, I felt like at the moment I could see how maybe he felt he was under the gun and didn't have a ready-made answer. That's fine. I think it would have been better for him to say, well, I'll go take a look at that. That would have been a better move for him. But then also, for me, I like when debaters go into the teeth of the other team's defense. I like it when an objection is presented and, a debater's like doesn't run away from it, but goes in there. So like when Guerrilla Hebrew says, go to the text in Deuteronomy 28, show me the curses. And then, Dr. Brown's like, all right, cool, let's go line by line. And he starts going line by line. Like, to me, that scores major in terms of winning that engagement. He's like, and you can say, oh, well, yeah, but I said, you can move the goalposts like Vader said, but like, nah, like he's going verse by verse on you, my dude. And that to me demonstrates like somebody who has a confidence in their position and competence, such that they're able to go there on the fly. So, I mean, it was stuff like that for me that I think that in terms of the substance of the debate, without question, I think Dr. Brown, I mean, he did his thing. Much respect to Alazar for showing up and putting on the gloves and doing his part. Definitely think that more conversations like this need to be the case. Just like when we went out to Phoenix and we were dealing with Captain Taz and them. You know what I mean? It wasn't like a fisticuffs type. San Diego. I'm sorry.
That's all right. It was, I know the difference because it's about 30 degrees cooler there.
Right.
Not now, but in the summer. But real quick,
it was a good build. It was a cordial build. You know what I mean? And so I think we need to see more of that, man.
Look who showed up. The man who gave me the compliment, Gaza the Zealot. Was that you, Gaza, who earlier told me appreciate your moderation skills yesterday, devil? He says the cognitive dissonance is thick in here. Honestly, Gaza, for real, have we not been incredibly even-handed? It's obvious where we're going to lie as far as what side or position where we're going to line up with. I mean, we're Christians, we're apologists, it's obvious, okay? I'm talking about us right here on the panel. Other people are coming in. I still don't know why I can't hear the Hebrew of Israel. I got you in, but you're muted. You've muted yourself. Yeah, okay. I'll get to you next. I see you're good now. Okay, good.
Can I just piggyback off of what Adam just said? Because I think that, between the two, I think Dr. Brown did a better job as well of assimilating the information to his presentation. So Alazar would say something and he would directly assimilate that into his next comments or rebuttals, whereas Alazar would just typically go back, just restate, re-say in different words what he said previously. He didn't really assimilate or interact with the new information, which would have to be off the top of your head, right? You don't know what your opponent's about to say, but I think that Dr. Brown did a better job of that.
Well, that, and I think also in terms of the core case being made, and I don't want to just regurgitate what other people said, but I agree with, I think it was K-Dub's assessment that you didn't really hear a sound, consistent, positive case from Guerrilla Hebrew supporting his side of the debate. I'm saying, like, he did not present a positive case legitimizing, from what I saw. I'll go back and watch it and make sure I didn't miss any other pieces, but he didn't present a positive case, a sound, consistent, positive case for the legitimacy of the 12 tribes chart, and he did not respond well to particular critiques, such as not being able to identify specific tribes. Dr. Brown brought that. Like I don't think he defended that well. And so to me, at the end of the day, if I'm going to assess a debate, it's not going to be about what makes me feel good. Who I like. Which person represents my side. Like those things are irrelevant. I've seen plenty of Christian debates. Christian versus atheist, Christian versus whoever. I've seen plenty of them where I'm like, man, hey, I'm a Christian, but that Christian took an L. I've told people that. You know what I mean? I've told people who've been involved in those kind of debates that, like, yo, man, that wasn't it. So I have no problem with being, calling a spade, but and I think that we have to have that kind of objectivity. Did whichever side make their case? That's the most important question from a substance standpoint, and then everything else kind of revolves around that.
Yeah, I feel like we could be pretty, relatively speaking, objective or balanced or fair and all of that. I see the Hebrew Israelite reviews, if you want to call them that, or comments. I'm hoping that when Sakari does theirs, I think they might be live now or sometime today, that there's some of that nuance or subtlety there. I don't know. It's sort of a change of pace if that was the case, I think. But to the Hebrew Israelites watching, do you see you can do it like this? You can give compliments. There's a way to do it. I'm not saying this is a perfect example, but trying to be balanced and fair and honest and objective. These reviews that are just so and so is slaughtered, or Dr. Brown was geriatric, and all that. It's like you're not doing anything. You're not accomplishing anything with those kind of silly things. And if that's all you got, it just shows a lack of substance. So this debate should be a call to you. If you say I'm a Hebrew Israelite and this is what I'm doing, step up your game and your substance. With what you're really saying. I mean, I am going to play this clip right now, okay? And then I'm going to get into to my man Hebrew of Israel. Let me play this clip. This man really said what I'm about to play, okay? Everyone listen to this. This man said Dr. Brown, he couldn't convince him because he didn't have a beard. He lost the debate because he didn't have a beard. Now, I think it'd be great if Dr. Brown had a beard. You know what I mean? But he doesn't. But that doesn't mean he lost the debate. But listen to this clip. This guy, all right, let me rewind it here and make sure everyone can hear it, okay? Here we go. Why isn't it playing? Nobody can hear this? It's not playing, is it? Hold on. Why? And I'm covering them up, too. Okay, let's play this. Come on now. Come on, computer. Come on now. I'm getting the balloon here, the red circle of death, where it's like.
I'm white, I'm right theory. I got a PhD, so my word is fact. You feel me? I went to college, so I know what I'm talking about. No, you don't, Mr. Brown. You really made yourself look like a clown. You ain't even got no beard, man. A man with a beard, with no beard, can't teach me nothing, man. He lost when I seen he didn't have no beard.
Hey, come on,
but yeah, that's a sin.
He lost when I seen he didn't have no beard.
No beard, boy. I got a beard. I'm good, right?
Yeah, his truth is dependent on the status of your hair follicles.
Didn't he know before the debate Dr. Brown didn't have a beard?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Anyways, all right, let's get into Hebrew of Israel. What do you think, man? I'm sorry you've been on hold so long, bro. Go ahead.
No, it's all good. It's all good. I just got to say, as someone who believes that, their ancestors could have been part of the Israelite population, I got to admit, Dr. Brown won that debate. 100% Dr. Brown won. And Guerrilla Hebrew, that was a slaughter. That was a really, really bad and poor presentation. In terms of trying to prove, the 12 tribes chart and trying to disprove Ashkenazi Jews, which they are Israelites, they are Jewish.
You believe Ashkenazi Jews are Israelites?
Yeah, 100%. Ashkenazi, Sephardi, Mizrahi, they're all descendants of Israel. They're all Jewish.
And you're a Hebrew Israelite as well, correct?
I wouldn't classify myself as a Hebrew Israelite. I would just say that I believe my ancestors was part of the Proto-Israelite population.
Your ancestors were part of the Proto-Israelite population.
Yeah.
All right. Well, yeah, I mean, you guys do have some very interesting videos where I think people can learn a lot about the genetics and the DNA. So I appreciate that you guys do that. But let me elaborate. Take a minute or two, if you can, on why you said what you said in regards to how the debate went. We'll be great some other time probably to talk about some of those other perspectives. But could you elaborate a little bit inside? I'm gonna step away for a second, so the floor is yours because I got to grab
Yeah.
something over here. Go ahead.
Yeah. So one thing that was interesting to me that stood out was the fact that I think his name is Alzar, right? GRLA Hebrew.
Yep.
Okay. So
Yes, sir.
Alzar said that that he tried to disprove the Ashkenazi Jews as not being Israelites because they have multiple haplogroups. He brings out haplogroup R1A, R1B, Q1B, J1, J2, E1B1B, stuff like that. And he says that, when it comes to Jacob, he has to have one haplogroup because if y'all don't know, a haplogroup is basically a Y chromosome passed down from father to son. It's an unbroken line. And he tries to say that since the Ashkenazi Jews have multiple haplogroups, then none of them can descend from Jacob. But little does he know that when it comes to the 12 tribes chart, all the people on there would have multiple haplogroups too. Like the Native Americans, they would typically carry haplogroup Q. African Americans, about 60% of them carry E1B1A. Hispanics, a lot of them descend from Spaniards or Spanish people from Europe, and they'll carry R1B. So it's like the same argument you tried to make to disprove the Ashkenazi Jews, you can literally make to disprove the 12 tribes chart. So it's like, what? Like, why are you?
And then later on, he said that he didn't even believe that genetics had any type of role, or you couldn't use it as any type of indicators for that. So.
I think if I was going to try to, let's say GRLA Hebrew was here and he heard that part, I think he would probably say, at least some of the last things, he might say, well, so I don't trust genetics that far back, but you guys say you do, and the person I'm quoting says they do, and here's what they say that would discount your position. I think he might say something like that. What do you think? Orthodox more or Hebrew of Israel, Ivri. It seems like he might say something like that, to be fair to his position.
All right, so he can try to say that, but you can't really like debunk DNA. That's part of you. It's like literally what you are. So it'll be kind of.
Isn't his position that you can, from what I've heard, his position is along the lines of, and I'm going to put this very practical, on a Mari Povich level, you can trust it. You are the father. You are not the father. However, on an Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob level, you can't trust it. I think that's what his position would be. This is in my words. What would you say to that?
Real quick, break down the length of time the autosomal goes back and the length of time that the haplogroups go back. That's what.
Hey, my bad to jump in. Hey, I got to run, guys. So I just want to say peace.
Hey, thanks for joining us. Hey, what do you got going on your channel? True ID. Everyone subscribe to True ID Apologetics. What do you got going on besides hanging out with superstars?
Hey, man, I'm about to get another friend of GRLA Hebrew. Actually, I'm not even going to go there. I'm about to go see the Cray concert right now, so that's next on the agenda. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So, you know what I mean?
All right.
They got some interviews coming up. Check out the channel, True ID Apologetics. Got some articles and whatnot for the Substack.
All right.
Love y'all, man. Y'all take
God
it easy.
bless.
Hey, real
Peace.
quick, Adam, can I get at you for an interview on your portion of Vocab's last book on
I'm sorry. I had already dropped him off because we had another call in and I can only handle a certain amount at once. I apologize, bro. I just kicked out Adam to make room for this other call. I'm sorry, bro. I can hit him up or give you his basic information because I would actually love to have a conversation. I think I'm going to bring you up in a second, Nazareth. I think he would say, or Nazareth, I think he would. So I don't know the answer to that question of what you just said. I was just trying to steel man what I understand his position to be.
Yeah, you have him right. You have him 100% right.
But I don't know the answer. Could you ask that question again and explain why it's relevant? And I don't know the answer. At that point, I stopped representing him. I don't know. Could you say that again, though? I thought it was relevant what you were saying.
Ibri, you there?
Explaining the Y DNA and autosomal DNA?
Well, briefly as you can, explaining why that question he said was relevant and why maybe you would make a case the other way. And it's going to get a little technical, but then we'll move on if we could. But go ahead.
Yeah, so when it comes to Y DNA, that goes all the way back basically to what is called scientific Adam, the very first man that would have produced all the different haplogroups that we all descend from today. So that goes back thousands of years to the very first man. Whereas autosomal DNA only goes back a few generations. So if GRLA Hebrew were to try to say, well, DNA can only go back so far, I would say, well, you're talking about autosomal DNA, which is basically admixture of all your various ancestors, but recently, within at least 8 to 10 generations, which is about 200 to 400 years. But Y-DNA goes back thousands of years, so that's what makes it different. And in
Gotcha.
Y-DNA haplogroups, it's a sex-determining chromosome. So, like I said, men carry a X and a Y chromosome, so they carry their father's Y haplogroup and they carry their mother's MT haplogroup. Whereas women only have the X chromosome, so women are only going to pass down their mother. It's going to be like basically from mother to daughter, and it's easier to explain if you can see it, but you know.
I appreciate that. You know what's interesting about what you just said, Avery? There's a presuppositional challenge, I think, to that. If I understand One West anthropology on that issue properly, it's this. They believe that Adam would be a proto-Israelite, and so Israelites are Adamites, whereas other non-Israelite peoples are actually not Adamites. And this is an old One West breakdown, and usually they defend it by saying that the trees in the garden represent other people, perhaps other nations. And so Adam has this line, but I think they don't even think all people descend from Adam. And I'm going to be frank, in regards to the One Westers, much like some of the white supremacists of old who tried to come up with non-Adamic origins for other peoples. And so I don't know if you guys have ever got into that, but I think that might be going on in the background partially with some of these guys.
So you're talking about pre-Adamites then?
No, they are not descended from Adam. They are descended from other peoples, almost like other Adams and Eves. You see?
Oh, I think I know what you're talking about.
I think some of them believe that. I think they may believe. Last I knew, that's what they believed. We'd have to get deeper with that. But let me jump on to Nazareth, if that's okay. Hey, you guys do things different over there, but I still want to give you your love and your shout out. Can you tell people how to find your guys' content? And when you guys click on, they do have a different perspective and all that, but you'll still learn. In fact, Dr. Brown said, excuse the language type of thing, but he said you guys did have some insightful points in your review. He listened to some of it, and he hit me up about it. So, but go ahead. Could you guys give a shout out to where to find your stuff, and then move on to the next guest, if that's okay?
Well, you can find me with the same name as y'all can see, the Hebrew of Israel. That's the name of my YouTube channel. And then there's Genesis 49ers, spelled, exactly that way, Genesis 49ers. And then there's the YAP Gang YouTube channel. Just type in, I believe is it called YAP Gang Scholarship? I forgot the name.
I think that's it, yeah.
Yeah, YAP Gang Scholarship, I believe it's called.
No doubt.
Let me see. There's the Orthodox more. Say again more. I didn't quite.
Yeah, no, you're right. It's a YAP Gang Scholarship.
YAP Gang Scholarship. Got it. And then there's your channel as well, the Orthodox more. I think it's under the same name. Yeah.
No doubt.
Yes, sir.
All right, I'm going to knock you all off to make rooms for some other people, if that's okay.
Appreciate it.
All right, God bless.
Thanks
you guys
for having me.
Yes, sir. Have a beautiful day. Great Friday.